Welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to unpack a fascinating and honestly highly technical international battle plan. We are looking at a strategy designed by the International Maritime Organization, specifically their 2023 guidelines for the control and management of ships biofouling. It's essentially a master plan to save our global marine ecosystems from an unseen enemy. So whether you're into marine conservation, global shipping efficiency, or just really brilliant engineering problem solving, you're going to love this.
But before we get totally lost in the technical specs, we need to ask ourselves a fundamental question. What is the biggest hidden threat to our oceans right now? And no, we aren't talking about oil spills or plastic pollution today. We're actually talking about a massive, completely invisible enemy that's hitchhiking across the globe on cargo ships every single day, usually totally undetected until it's way too late.
This hidden threat is something called biofouling. Essentially, biofouling is the accumulation of aquatic organisms, microorganisms, plants, and animals on immersed surfaces. This process literally turns massive ships into unintended biological taxis. They end up transporting invasive aquatic species, which are non-native species that can absolutely devastate new environments, wiping out local ecosystems, threatening human health, and even tanking local economies.
To see exactly how the International Maritime Organization is tackling this, we're going to map out their tactical battle plan in 5 phases: the hidden biofouling threat, designing for defense, anti-fouling systems, inspections and ratings, and finally, cleaning and management.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the hidden biofouling threat.
You might be wondering, how fast does this actually happen? Well, it's not some slow, gradual process that takes months to become a problem. Studies show that the moment a ship hits the water, the clock starts ticking. The biofouling process begins within the very first few hours of a ship's immersion. Microscopic organisms attach almost immediately, and that kicks off a cycle that very quickly threatens ocean biodiversity and, ultimately, the seafood that ends up on your plate.
Which brings us to Section 2, Designing for Defense.
Because we know how incredibly fast this happens, the absolute best way to win this war starts before the ship even touches the ocean. It starts right at the shipyard. By making smart engineering choices, shipbuilders can actively eliminate those tiny little hiding spots where biofouling takes hold. We're talking about avoiding small niches. Shipbuilders need to round or bevel corners and gratings so that anti-fouling coatings can cover them perfectly. Engineers have to make sure they can block off sea chests for cleaning, and they need to minimize bends and flanges in internal cooling systems. It's really all about designing a smooth, impenetrable fortress from day one.
Moving right along to Section 3, Anti-Fouling Systems.
Design alone isn't going to cut it. You literally have to coat these ships in armor, which the industry calls anti-fouling systems, or AFS. What's super fascinating here is that picking the right anti-fouling paint or surface treatment isn't just a standard one-size-fits-all thing. Biofouling pressure changes drastically depending on where a ship actually sails. It entirely depends on the temperature, the salinity, and the nutrient conditions of the water. A ship carving through icy polar waters needs a totally different chemical armor than a ship sitting in a warm, nutrient-packed tropical port.
And this customized armor is absolutely crucial for the ship's Achilles heel, its vulnerable niche areas. We're looking at complex geometric spots like sea chests, bow thrusters, rudder hinges, and propellers. These areas disrupt the smooth flow of water and create this perfect sheltered real estate for barnacles and tube worms to just thrive. If you don't target these specific areas with exactly the right system, the entire ship's defense is pretty much compromised.
Next up is Section 4, Inspections and Ratings. Okay, so the ship is beautifully designed, heavily armored, and out at sea. Now, the whole strategy pivots to continuous intelligence gathering. It's a nonstop loop of day-to-day tactical reality. You monitor hull performance, you identify risks, you take action based on a highly specific biofouling management plan, and you log every single detail in a biofouling record book. It's just a constant, unending cycle of vigilance.
And when those routine inspections happen, inspectors use a really precise 0 to 4 rating scale, so everyone is on the same page about how bad the threat is. A 0 means a perfectly clean hull. A 1 means microfouling. That's just a harmless-looking microscopic slime. But you have to watch out as it scales up to a 2, 3, and finally a 4, which means heavy macrofouling covering up to 100% of the surface. And at a rating of 4, you aren't even cleaning anymore. You are pulling that entire massive ship out of the water into dry dock to completely reapply its armor.
Which leads us to our final phase, Section 5, Cleaning and Management.
When an inspection reveals a high rating, it is time for a tactical strike. But how you strike matters immensely.
If you catch it super early at a rating of 1, you can do what's called proactive cleaning. You're basically just gently wiping away the slime before the big organisms grow, and you often don't even need to capture the debris. But if you wait until the barnacles actually form, that's reactive cleaning. At that stage, you absolutely must strictly capture the debris as you clean, because if you just scrape it off into the harbor, you're accidentally releasing viable invasive fragments and toxic paint chips straight into the local water. That would literally cause the exact disaster you were trying to prevent in the first place.
And this strict environmental containment doesn't just stop when a ship's active duty ends. The guidelines are crystal clear that this responsibility continues all the way to the end of a vessel's life. Even ship recycling facilities have to adopt strict measures to make sure that as they break down a vessel, they aren't dumping biofouling organisms or waste into the aquatic environment. The battle honestly doesn't end until the ship is entirely out of the water for good.
Now, this is probably my absolute favorite part of this entire explainer because it's a massive dual victory. Maintaining a clean hull doesn't just stop invasive species. By removing all those barnacles and that slime, it drastically reduces the physical drag on the ship. That means the vessel cuts through the water so much easier, which slashes fuel consumption and significantly drops global greenhouse gas emissions. So it's a huge win for local biodiversity and an equally huge win for the global climate.
So with thousands of ships crossing our oceans right this very second, it really leaves you wondering, as global trade continues to expand, how quickly can the maritime industry adapt and implement these IMO guidelines? Because if we can master this hidden microscopic war, we won't just turn the tide on invasive species, we'll completely reshape the future of our marine ecosystems and sustainable shipping. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.